Hello and welcome back. I told you I would be here for this, and here I am. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's review of the 2019 Last Breath documentary because we are jumping right in with the interrogation of the 2025 theatrical release of the movie Last Breath, which is based on that. Now, when I say that I do not do any pre-recording, I don't script any of this stuff, I was going back through some of my notes and I'm like, okay, I totally missed out on a big segment that I was going to touch on during yesterday's documentary. And honestly, it applies to both the documentary and the movie. So I don't feel bad touching on it today, even though I missed it yesterday. Because like I said, I'll take little notes, and I take notes during the movie to kind of help remind myself of what's going on and just kind of help to jog my memory, and also to give people easy things to search under. Let's say you remember a quote from the movie, but you don't remember the movie, so you type it in. Well, that's one of the things that I do, is I try to take that information down so you can find the movie easier, and of course it can lead you also to these reviews. I will say with this movie, The Last Breath, it is also one I'm going to be giving a guilty rating to, just because of some of the elements of the story and also some of the language that's involved. If you are not familiar with the story, and if you didn't catch yesterday's episode, I hope you do go back and catch it, but no need to worry. I'm not listening to the rest of this episode will not spoil yesterday. Honestly, you could listen to them in interchangeable order. But one of the things I wanted to touch on that I kind of missed out on yesterday is, okay, the thing that he had 5 minutes of air left, and he managed to survive for 20 something odd minutes. Beyond that, there was something I wanted to touch on that. And it's like, okay, yes, it could have been the whole thing of with the cold temperatures and slowing the body down and everything. So, okay, yeah, there's a way that science can explain this. But then we also have to think of like the Jewish traditions of Hanukkah and in the story of Hanukkah. And you might be, no, the movie doesn't have anything to do with Jewish religion or anything, but there's something with that. With the Hanukkah lamp, there was only enough oil to last for 1 day, and it lasted for 8. And so that's kind of the takeaway here is, was this science or was this a miracle that this happened? And that's going to be something that could easily be highly debated depending on what your belief system is on that. So, did he survive because of science, or did he survive because of a miracle, or is it maybe a little bit of both? It's one of those things that we're never going to completely understand. Because, I mean, he's 300 feet underwater, and his umbilical is severed, and there's these storms, and the currents they could have swept him away so easily. And the diver's name was Chris Lemons, and his colleagues were other veteran divers, and they were trying to get to him, and they knew it was a thing against time. I mean, they knew the time frame that they had to try to get to him. And when that countdown hit 0, when he ran out of air, when he ran out of oxygen, we are not meant to survive in a 0 oxygen environment. And that's the part of this that, I mean, science can't really completely explain. And it's one of those things that's okay, maybe a little bit more of the miracle side of it is he has no permanent deficits. It's not a spoiler. But like I said, if you've even watched the trailers, you've seen kind of how this is played out. But the fact that he survived, that he managed to survive that whole time and came out of this, and towards the end of the movie, it does touch on his real life and touches on his wedding and some other things like that were happening in his life. But the documentary goes into so much more detail of what was going on. The movie really kind of skips around a little bit. It doesn't show you the details of what they were doing and why they were doing it. Now, mind you, it doesn't need to get like super technical in all of that and how they're doing this, but it tries. In the documentary, you were taking part in the suspenseful and life-threatening situation that was happening, because they were reliving what was going on, and you had firsthand accounts of the people that experienced this. In the movie, though they had these people on set for reference purposes and to kind of help guide them, it was like watching, I'm trying to think how I want to put this. It's like if you were to like watch something that was like an amazing movie or an amazing play, and then you watched a bunch of like kids basically performing that same story where they didn't understand what it meant to be in character, and they just kind of phoned it in a little bit as they were doing it. Because you don't ever feel like these well-known actors that we know so well, they don't embody these people that actually experience this. Now, okay, some do, some don't. Let me rephrase this. Some do, some don't. The ones that are experiencing the storm, the ones that are trying to rescue Chris, they have a little bit more of that oomph to them. But like when Woody is playing Chris, and it's just, I don't know. It's like, did he not have a conversation with him before they even began like sharing this? And like I said, there's no like really bad content. There's nothing sexual. There's no drug use. There's, like I said, occasional language and everything. But they don't even necessarily go into the depth of like what's going on with the pressurizations and why they have to do everything that they do, and why, just kind of how it all plays out. So it's a high stakes rescue mission in both the documentary and this. Obviously, we know Chris was rescued, so that's no spoilers there. I mean, that's everyday information on that. But there's just, I don't know, the movie just doesn't quite get there. Obviously, it tells the story, but there's one particular scene when they first get Chris back into the bell housing and everything. And if you've watched the documentary and you're watching the movie, you're just like, wait, what? No, come on. It's like, you can't help it. And I was like, okay, am I overreacting to this just by watching these two things separately? And I've talked to a few people that have watched just the movie, and they're like, yeah, I was kind of in it until this scene happened, and then they were describing the scene, and I'm like, okay, so it's not just me. It's not just me. But, you know, there's going to be people that absolutely thought this was a cinematic masterpiece, and there's going to be other people that think it's absolutely garbage. So I don't know which end of it you're going to be on. I just know that they lost some of the... They lost the emotional connection that the documentary had. They lost a chance to really shine with a true rescue mission that had a happy ending. Now, they could have done that so many different ways. There's been so many ways that movies have done that. Why they didn't, I don't know. Was it a budget thing? Was it an actor thing? Was it a distraction thing? Like, what? Why? Those are the questions we are just not going to have the answers to. Ultimately, I hope that this helps at least somebody with these movies. I hope, like I said, I do hope that even if you have or have not seen this yet, that you go back and check out the documentary. Again, this is the movie that came out in 2025, and 5 is kind of the magic number because that is the score that I have given this movie. Just a 5.0. So this story did have quite a few flaws to it, and there was just not enough for it to be redeeming, even as the story was told. I am grateful that even though that this was the theatrical release, that they spent the time and actually showed some actual footage of Chris and his wife and the credits and some other details about the story and the other divers involved. So, like I said, if you have not had a chance to check it out yet, I hope that, like I said, this at least helps somebody. So I will be back soon. I hope you are having a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.